guys, Truly here, and welcome to part 1 of my new speed build mini-series. This is going to be called Victorian Inspired Dream Home. This house is inspired, obviously, by the idea of old Victorian homes, and this one in particular is also inspired by the idea of a Victorian home being renovated to suit a creative, artistic young lady. And I kind of realized partway through building that I was actually building my own dream home, and so that's where the name for this series comes from. I've decided that alongside speaking about the building and my building process for this video, I would also answer some questions from the Sims 4 tag, just for a little tossed in fun. So looking at the building now, you can see that I've already started on the main rooms and foundation. And then after I sort of sort that all out, I start on adding all the little nooks on the walls on pretty much every side. I think there's even one on the back, except on the back the nook is more like a porch. So at the front here, I tried to make that area look kind of like the towers that you see on the front of, or sometimes the side of, traditional Victorian homes, because I just love that. I think it looks so beautiful and romantic. So I wanted to add that style to my build as well. I did also have a little bit of trouble figuring out how to do the roofing. Once I put on all the nooks and the little tower area and stuff, but later on you'll see I think it turns out all right for a first try. So let's answer some questions now. The first question of the Sims 4 tag is, how long have you been playing The Sims 4? I've actually been playing The Sims 4 since it came out. I pre-ordered the game back before it was released, so I've been rocking this installment almost exclusively since it came out. So I'm pretty diehard for Sims 4 at this point, despite its obvious lacking in some areas. So you can see here that I've done the roofs to sort of have like a little porch area in the front that's covered over. And then I did a balcony, a wraparound deck on the side, and then a balcony just over that. And then I kind of stacked all the roofs, the gabled roofs, on top of each other to kind of give it a look like sort of Victorian inspired, but also kind of the way that maybe a castle would look. I kind of get that feeling from it when I look at it. I don't know about you. But I really like the gabled roofs for this because you can put windows and stuff on the front of them. You can put those little eyelet windows on the front that I love, and I think it looks really classic and beautiful. You can also see that I used half walls on the left side there instead of fencing on the top balcony. And trust me, I know how ugly that looks, but I was just having a hard time deciding what I should do up there. And I kind of waffled back and forth between doing fencing and doing the half walls a couple times before I finally settle on doing the fencing, because I think that just looks so much better. Anyways, let's answer question number 2. So question number 2 of the Sims 4 tag is, what is your favorite thing about The Sims 4? My favorite thing has to be that the game is more sim focused. It really shows us what the Sims think and feel and want a lot better than any previous iteration of the game, in my opinion. I feel like this one, it's kind of easier to get into the storytelling aspect because of that. And also, I really love the visuals in this game. The lighting update was fantastic, and the capacity to create excellent, cinematic experiences is a definite fan favorite for me. So I love that. Here I'm just in the building doing the back porch, which will kind of lead into like a little bit of a garden area, but you can see that the plot of land that I'm on is actually not very big, and the house is taking up most of it, so there's not a lot of garden space. I actually ended up putting little pots on the wraparound deck so that you can put plants or you can put flowers instead of vegetables and fruits. You could put flowers or whatever. Like, you can put really whatever you want in the little pots, obviously. I think for me, I'd probably want to put maybe like grapes or something like that you can use for fresh cooking. So now I'm just kind of adjusting the little gabled roofs on top of my little nooks, trying to make them look identical. And hopefully soon I replace that half wall because it just looks hideous. I think I'm actually starting to do the coloring for the house now. And originally I picked something that looked a little bit more classic, which is the light wood paneling there. But you'll see in a minute that I change it to a sort of foresty, almost kind of a shamrocky green color. And I think that suits it a lot more. It makes it look a little bit more quirky, a little bit more tied into the nature that I'm going to incorporate into the landscaping and stuff like that. And I really like that vibe a lot better. I wanted to deviate from traditional Victorian colors, which were actually, like, they were fairly bright, but there was a lot more neutrals than there were of like bright, vibrant nature colors. I'd say, more browns, creams, yellows, and things like that. Even pinks and stuff were more common than I think the color I actually end up going with on this build. So here I am putting on the green color that I adore. And I love it because it's also wood paneling. So it looks like something that could actually be on the outside of a house, which is nice. And it's a little overpowering right now, but once all of the greenery and everything is added, it ties in really nice. So let's go to question 3 of the Sims 4 tag. What's your least favorite thing about The Sims 4? And I think most people will tell you that they were a little shocked by the return of so many loading screens. In The Sims 3, we really got to feel like the world was our oyster. We could go anywhere and do anything, and the possibilities were limited more by your imagination than like lack of space to move around the world. So now that they've limited the neighborhoods again, it does feel a little claustrophobic at times. However, when they added the campground area in one of their game packs, things got like a little bigger. We kind of saw an increase in space to explore. And I feel that if the Sims team can bring in enough expansions and enough game packs to make the world feel more expansive and give us more opportunity for adventure, then they'll have mostly made up for the idea of removing open world features that I know everybody was so in love with. So here I am just trying to make like the sort of middle trim on the house work a little better. I know I wanted to add that and I knew that it wasn't going to add to every part of the house because the way that I built the house is a little bit uneven. Like, it goes up higher on the right side there to sort of build the attic than it does on the left. On the left, it's just 2 stories. On the right, it's 3 stories. So, it didn't really work 100%, but I still got it on the front, which I think was the most important place to get that sort of brownish trim stuff going. And then you can also see it a little bit on the back, just not on the upper levels. So here I am finally changing that ugly half wall to be fencing. And I also decided to change all the fencing to the brown wood instead of the gold colored wood because I thought it really did suit the vibe a little bit more. It made it look a little more tied in with nature because you find a lot more brown in nature than gold. So even though like bright, vibrant yellows are a huge thing in nature, you don't get a lot of actual gold. It's pretty rare. So I removed that to continue on with the theme. And I also cut out a lot of the footage of me putting in the windows. It took me forever to figure out what kind of windows I actually wanted and then figure out the combination of windows I wanted that would look natural and realistic on the house. I guess a couple of tips when you're looking to place windows on a house that you're building. make sure that you use different kinds of windows, like different shapes of windows. That have a similar theme and a similar style, or even the same style, but are just like bigger and smaller ones, and maybe ones with shutters like I did on this one. You can see on the front that there are at least 4 different window types right on the front of the house alone. So I find that's really important to kind of make it look A, like it's been a bit renovated, and B, like it's a real house and it's not something that's been created by somebody who doesn't actually build houses, because I don't actually in real life build houses, right? But I want to make it look like potentially I know what I'm doing. Another thing is placing them in a balanced way. So not putting too many windows in one spot and then not putting enough windows on the other side. Or if you are going to do asymmetrical, making sure that it's balanced top to bottom so that it doesn't look off kilter. And then making sure that you have the lighting you want on the inside of the house from the windows is also really important. So planning ahead for that if you can. That's something I really do try to do, but I need to work on it myself. So let's go on to question 4. If you could add one new feature to the game, what would it be? I would probably add a feature where you can set your Sims to film mode and have their needs stop decaying, as well as adding the ability to control their behavior and emotions remotely. So allowing you to create, more authentic scenes and situations, which are able to be filmed a lot more freely. I think that would be a really important sort of addition to the game for people like me, at least, who want to create that kind of cinematic footage. To be able to control the sim from like a pie menu, their emotions and stuff like that would be really, really useful for me. So you can see back to the build here that I'm adding a lot of greenery to the outside of the house, growing up the sides of the house. And I wanted to kind of give it the look like it's really, like the house is really old and it's had the opportunity to grow a lot of its own foliage, basically, but that it's not so overgrown that it looks like someone has let the house fall into disuse. So I wanted to make sure that while the greenery looked like it was kind of taking the house over in a way, it also looked like it had been pruned to look a certain way and be healthy. And so the house and the foliage can kind of be symbiotic instead of it overrunning the people who lived inside. Also, the garden took me actually a lot of time, so I kind of just cut out a lot of that footage, but you can see that I did add a large garden plot at the front. And if you wanted to, you could remove the plants that are in there and put your own plants that you want to grow into the front. So your Sims could actually garden their garden. So that would be nice. Question 5 is, what's one thing you wish they'd bring back from The Sims 3? I would actually add back in the feature to customize the colors of furniture, clothing, and decor items. I often find that with the limited decor options at our disposal in The Sims 4, my builds don't have the same congruent feeling that they once had. In The Sims 3, I routinely took advantage of the ability to change any fabric or paint I desired, but now that we have to sort of stick to what the game offers, my creativity is a little less free to roam. However, that does force me to use my creativity and flexibility to make tougher decisions, so that's a silver lining. I'm looking at the build and I can't believe how much I just love all of the flowers and plants everywhere. And I also really love those little like eyelet windows that they have on the front and the back there. I think that is so cute. I would love to have that on my house. I really would. And I think that adding those gives it a little bit of that older feel, which I really wanted. So yeah, love that. Question number 6 is there anything that disappointed you about The Sims 4? I thought the emotional aspect of The Sims would be taken a bit farther than it had been, or that it has been. Despite that, I really enjoy the emotions in The Sims 4, and I'd find it hard to play without them going back to The Sims 3, but at the same time, I kind of thought that they would kind of step it up a notch or two from where it's actually at. So, I mean, that's all personal preference. And question 7 is, if you could create one expansion pack for The Sims 4, what would it be? I would really love to see a return to the designer career track, and I would also enjoy seeing like official home businesses and official self-employment come back. Seriously, like, you can do both of those things in the Get to Work expansion, and also in the base game you can just be self-employed by selling your paintings and your garden stuff. But it would be nice to have an official self-employment option like we did in the previous game. So as a simmer, I'd be really more than happy to see an expansion that added more careers and more options for employment. I really would. We're nearly at the end here of the video, and there's not a whole lot to say about the building itself, really. That's why I added these questions, so that we'd have something a little bit more to talk about, and it would feel more like hangouts, and you could get to know me a little better. But one thing I do want to say about this house is that I really loved building it. I really loved making the cinematic footage for it and getting to know this house and kind of create a story in my head for it. And I think I will do a Let's Play with this house at some point, because it is dear to my heart at this point, and I've spent a lot of time with it. So I want to develop a story with a character inside the house as well. Obviously, this video is just part 1, and this will just be the building of the exterior of the house. My next video is going to be the building of the interior, which I think is going to be really, really fun. And I really love the interior too. I particularly enjoyed decorating the attic, so look forward to that. Yeah, I can't wait to show you the interior in part 2, but that's all I have for you guys in this episode. I hope you enjoyed hanging out with me today, and let's play some games again soon. Bye for now.